שיר בגמרא במציע, פרק השואל לספורו, דף צדיקי עומד בייז, 7 lines from the bottom, the white line begins with the word אביי סובר לו אביי סובר לו כרבי יושיע, and in the Rashi also as the second line from the bottom of the narrow lines, אביי דיבור המסחל אביי סובר לו. Okay. In order to understand this Gemara, we have to give a little bit introduction. We have to go back to something that we already learned. Well, the goal of the Gemara is going to be 2 steps. Last year, we learned that the concept of Go'ol of Imo is when the owner was doing something for the shoel at the time of the sheila. That's it. So the Gemara actually brought a brisa to prove it. But how do we know it from the psukim? How do we know it from the psukim? That it's only בשעת שאלה. Okay? That's number 1. Point number 2, from the limud of the Gemara is going to bring us an amazing learning, how we're going to learn it from the psukim, to choose one at a time. Either shas she'ela or shas miso, the time of Shvur or Mesa. So we're going to choose one at a time. And step number 2 is to choose shas she'ela. So the Gemara is doing it in steps. Step number 1, let's choose that Baal of Imo is in one of the times. And step number 2, we're going to choose the time of Shas Sheila. Okay, so the Gemara is 2 parts. In order to understand the Gemara, we have to go back to a machloikes that we had last time in Shir number 2 in Perek HaShoel, in Daf Tzadik Daled on the base on the bottom. The Gemara brought a machloikes. How are we looking whenever the Torah brings two concepts, 2 things? The Torah mentions 2 things in the Chumash, in the Pasuk. How are we looking at it? For example, okay? So let's look at the Psukim. Yeah, you see it? The Torah says, Ki ish ish asher yikal lesovi v'simoi. When a person will curse his father and his mother, Mois Yumas, he will die. He has to die. Why? So the Torah finishes, Avi ve'imoi kilal, because he cursed his father and his mother, Dom of boy is punishable, is responsible, is obligated, is punishable by dying. Okay? He did it to himself. Now, we have, I believe, the opinion of, let me make sure so we don't make any mistakes. Okay. Rabbi Rieber says that whenever, now here the Pasuk mentions 2 things. The Torah mentions Aviv, his father, ve'esimoi, it's 2 things. So whenever we look at the Pasuk, according to Rabbi Rieber, so the Pasuk says, Ish asher yikal lesovi ve'esimoi, if a person will curse his father and his mother, he's mois yumas, he has to die. Comes Rabbi Rieber and a brayse over there and asks a simple question. Here we only know if you curse both of them. It's sovi ve'esimoi, both of them. That means the father and the mother are together in this parsha to be chayiv. What about if you curse his father or his mother by itself? How do we know that he's chayiv? That means that Rabbi Rieber learns that whenever we have 2 things that are together. Now let's see how we're going to learn separately. So Rabbi Rieber says, because in the pasuk says first the word yakalel next to the father, okay, yakalel esoviv. Then it says imoy kilal, so it says the word kilal next to the mother. So here we're learning that even if you're cursed separately, you also chayav. Okay, so again, let's summarize what Rabbi Rieber says. Rabbi Rieber says whenever the Torah mentions 2 things, they are together. Avi ve'imoy, they are together till the Torah separates them. That's the way Rabbi Rieber learns. Okay, it's very important. This little akdama is very crucial to understand the next week's Gemara regarding the Olovim. Okay. Comes Rabbi Yonason and he says, no, whenever the Torah writes 2 things that are together or apart, you can learn it any way you want. So when the Torah says, You will know that when you curse them together, you're chayiv, or when you curse your father by itself, you're chayiv, or the mother by itself, you're chayiv. Either way, you're gonna be chayiv. Okay, we don't need a special limud to teach them that they are together. They are separated. So then the Torah repeats again, Avi ve'imay kilal. Why? According to Rabbi Yonason, to teach me that you chayev even if you curse them after the parents die. Okay. So comes out according to Rabbi Yeshua that if you have two things, they are together or apart. Anyway, you can learn it any way you want. Avi ve'imay together, Avi ve'imay separately. The two things are apart or together. Comes the Gemara and uses the same method regarding Be'ol Avimai. V'chi'ish alish me'im re'eyu. When a person borrows something from his friend, v'nishbar oy meis. So we have the time of the sheila, v'chi'ishal, and then we have the time of the oyness. So we have two things. And then the Torah concludes, Be'ol Aveinimai. When would the Be'olav be, will not be, let me make sure I'm saying the right thing, the right drosha according to the right person. Okay, so he starts from backwards. According to Rabbi Yeshua, go like this. So we're going to start according to Rabbi Yeshua. The Torah says, when was the owner not with him? When was he not with him? When was not Be'olav? The Torah says, Be'olav he has to pay. When was he not? So according to Rabbi Yeshua, the two things are together. Till the Torah separates. So that means, Be'olav Einimoy comes out that if the owner was not with him, when? Both times. From Shah Sheila till Shah Shvura, so like we mentioned Rav Amnuna. Very good. Okay. Then the Torah says, Be'olav Imoy lo yeshalem. If the owner is with him, he doesn't have to pay. When was the owner with him that he doesn't have to pay? From Shah Sheila till Shah Shvura. So that means like this. Comes out that from the Pasuk Be'olav Einimoy, we're learning out that if when is he chayev if the owner was not with him the entire time. Comes out that if the owner was with him in one of the time, he'll be patur. Now let's look at this Pasuk. In Be'olav Einimoy shlo yeshalem, if the owner was with him the whole time, he's patur. But if the owner was with him one of the times, it will be chayiv. So make up your mind. One of the times is chayiv, one of the times is patur. So it comes out there's a contradiction between the psukim. So what are you going to do? Now since that it can be that the Torah writes a contradiction, plus the Torah repeats herself, so obviously the Torah wants to teach me that's how the Torah separates them. That when it says when it says it means only one of the times. Okay? Not both of them. That's why the Torah comes again and tells me Be'olav Imoy Yishanim. So it comes out that the Torah is choosing to one of the times. Why is the Torah choosing Shah She'elo? That's the second part. Let's see if we can actually read it inside and then we'll do Rabbi Yonason Baal Peh and Befnim. Yes, Maya.
Is that in Be'olav Einimoy?
From Be'olav Einimoy we see that when was Be'olav not with him to be chayiv? The entire time, because the two things are together. But if the Be'olav Einimoy in one of the times, then he's patur. No, when does he?
Oh, when does he pay? So
but if the owner was with him one of the times, he's patur. Now let's look at this pasuk. In Be'olav Einimoy lo yishalem. When was the owner with him that he doesn't have to pay?
both times.
Both times, but one of the times is chayiv. So make it sense. One of the times chayiv, one of the times patur. Now, as we mentioned before, the Gemara is going to bring from according to Rabbi Yosha and according to Rabbi Yonason the same brayso that we learned. But there is no contradiction. Literally, they're both learning the same idea.
Couldn't it be in sentence also contradiction?
Huh?
Couldn't it be in sentence also?
You'll see again. According to Rabbi Yonason, it's going to be also going to be a contradiction, and the Gemara is going to learn it. So let's learn from inside. Abiy soba lo Rabbi Yosha. Abiy holds like Rabbi Yosha that what? That whenever you have two things that are together, till the Torah actually separates them, and he answers the contradiction between the psukim according to Rabbi Yeshua. Rove sova lo Rabbi Yonason. Rove holds like Rabbi Yonason that the two things are together or apart any way you want, till the Torah puts them together. And he answered the contradiction of the psukim from Baal Avimoy and Baal Aveinimoy according to Rabbi Yonason. Let's read it. Abiy, now the Gemara starts to explain. Abiy is over lo Rabbi Yishua, Mataratz lo Rabbi Yishua. It says, Be'olov eini moy shalem yishalem. The honor is not with them, he has to pay. So now, the Gemara learns out. Time and the reason that he doesn't have to pay, the lesser better value, because it was not Be'olov imoy by both times. Not in the time of the Sheila, not in the time of Shura Meso. Oh, but but if I was Be'olov imoy in one of the times, it's going to be patur. It's clear diuk. The Torah says you only chayiv if you're not there the whole time. But if you're there in one of the times, you're going to be patur. Veksiv, not vehoksiv. Rashi says we don't go in as vehoksiv. Veksiv. Im Be'olov imoy lo yishalem. And now let's continue. Veksiv, and the Gemara continues. Im Be'olov imoy lo yishalem. If the honor was with him, he doesn't have to pay. So the Gemara learns out. Time, the reason that he doesn't have to pay, because it was Be'olov imoy and both times, say in the time of Shelos, say in the time of Shura Meso. Or but he is a bechado if he's in one of the times, veles a bechado, and he's not in the other times v'chayiv. So what comes out? It's a contradiction. From one pasuk we see that if it's Be'olov imoy in one of the times he's chayiv, and from one pasuk we see that Be'olov imoy in one of the times is patur. So which one is it? It can be a contradiction in the pasuk. So obviously, since it cannot be a contradiction in the pasuk, it comes to teach for something. According to Rabbi Yishua, remember the two things are together until the Torah separates them. But the Torah repeats it again. That's how the Torah separates them. Lo imar loch, to teach you, o yoimoy b'shas sheila. If he was with him, it was Be'olov imoy at the time of the sheila. He doesn't have to be together with him in the time of Shura Meso. But if he was with him in the time of the breaking of the day, it's not enough because so therefore he's going to be chayiv. That's the Gemara is going to learn according to Abiy and Rabbi Yishua. Let's read the Rashi. The Rashi, second line from the bottom of the narrow lines. Abiy is over bechula. Ashto me'ader lifirushi. Now that the Gemara is looking to explain, me'echo yalfi anitanoi. How did this tanoim learn out? The bishar sheila beinan in the time of the sheila we need the Be'olov imoy, or bishar shura meso beinan at the time of shura meso we don't need Be'olov imoy. So Abiy is over like Rabbi Yishua. What did Rabbi Yishua says? The Omar beinan chiluk. That we need that the Torah should separate the two things from being together. And even though it doesn't say the word Yachdov in the Torah, it's as if it says, what do you mean? According to Rabbi Yishua, even though the Torah doesn't say that the two things are together, the two things are together as if it says the word Yachdov. Rabbi Yishua doesn't agree to explain that whenever we have two things, they are separated. When whenever the Torah mentions two things, and the Torah paskin on it, din or yisu. Din, 1 second. Din means chayv or patur or yisu, mutar also. B'taretz lekoi yes shmaya.
There's a question on the psukim that you say after. Why does it have to say it?
So we already learned it. Or we didn't learn that why it says Yachdov? According to, so Tosis spoke about it. We didn't learn that Tosis. Okay, maybe we'll have time. We'll look at it later. The answer the psukim from before, which is Daf Tzadik Daled Omud Beis, Rabbi Yishua. The Mefaresh of Rabbi Yishua explains the Bishar Sheila Beinon. In the time of the Sheila, we need to be Be'olov imoy. But in the time of the Shvura Meso, we don't need Be'olov imoy. Now, ומתה אצלו בוסד ליתא לרבי יינוסון, and Rov explains that according to the opinion of Rabbi Yeinusson. That what? You can also learn whenever you have two things that are either together or apart. Even though you can learn it together or apart, You can still learn good. That we have to choose one of the time to be Baal Avimai. Now Rashi repeats again what he said before. The Tanya, idach lo gersin. We don't have a girsin in the Gemara that it says the Tanya, and we learn in another brayse. That if you would have this girsin, it sounds like there was an argument between the two brayses. Why? The kol chadam asnito deleil in either brayses from before. Shaykhet arvai kori v'drosha. But psukim you can learn that you only choose one of the time. So basically, it's the same limud. What's the difference if you start from the bottom, from Baal Avimai lo yeshalem, or from the top, ein Baal Avimai yeshalem yeshalem. Elochi garsino. That's the way we have to have the proper girs in the Gemara. Umetaretz lekroi ki Rabbi Yoshe. Rashi just write now the girs of the Gemara. ומתרץ לו לקרוא כרבי יהושע בעול ואינים או תמיד דלסה בתרבה יעיסה בחדה ולסה בחדה פוטו וכסיב נת ותניה אידך אם בעול אבימו לא ישלם תמיד יעיסה בתרבה וכולו ואוכי פירושו. Now he explains. תמיד דלסה בתרבה, the reason that is chayev דלסה בתרבה was not in both of the times. שלא יאימו, he was not בעול אבימו לא בשעת שאלה ולא בשעת שבורה ומתה. Now, excuse me. You must say according to the Rabbi Yoshe when it says Baal of Einimoy that is Chayev, it goes on both times. Say on time of the Sheila, say in the time of Shura Mesa. Why? Why do we have to say it? Just like when you learn from the pasuk, when somebody cursed his father and his mother, that if we wouldn't have the continuation of the psukim, we would have only learned only when it curses both of them. So the same thing. So the same thing when it comes to Baal of Einimoy, when it was not Baal of Einimoy, the Ein, when is it Ein Imoy? It goes on both of them. Sign the Shah Sheila and sign the Shah Shura Mesa. Eino bezu, veino bezu, shalom shalom. Only when he's not on both of them, then he has to pay. Oh, but yeshlem beyechod mem. But if he's one of them, in one of the times, lo yeshalem. V'oksiv im Baal Avimoi, the mashman am yatrevai. Then later on the pasuk says im Baal Avimoi. So when was the im Baal Avimoi? And the entire time, both times. Sign the time of the Sheila, sign the time of Shura Mesa. Yeshlem bezu v'yeshlem bezu udelo mishalem. Only when he was in both of the times, he doesn't have to pay. But if he's in one of them, he has to pay. Okay, so how can it be? It's a contradiction between the psukim. One pasuk we're learning that in one of the times is chayv, one psukim we'll be learning that in one of the times is potter. Al kochoch, you must say that we can't continue saying that the Torah has contradiction in the psukim. Yes, obviously. So obviously, since the Torah repeats it, that's the one, like Rabbi Yoshe, that the Torah separates them and tells you to choose one of them. Al kochoch, you must say, yesh b'ay machas shepotarto, you have one of them that makes him potu, v'yesh b'ay machas sheino potarto, in one of them, one of the times that doesn't make him potu, rather makes him chayim. Umayi, what is the one? Sheilo potarto, the time of the sheilo makes him potu, shvura eino potarto, but shvura doesn't make him potu. Ulekamon, and later on, porich, the Gemara is going to ask a question. Why are you choosing time of Sheila? We'll choose the time of Shvura Mesa. That's the second bottom part of the Gemara. The Gemara is right now learning only that Baal of Ima is for one of the times. Which one? That's what we're going to do later. Now we're going to start according to Rav and Rabbi Yonasan. So according to Rav holds like Rabbi Yonasan that the two things are together or apart. Till the Torah makes him, chooses to make him together. So let's
look at the case and see if it's
just
together.
look at the case. That's right. So now, Rav savar like Rabbi Yonasan, umetaretz lekoi Rabbi Yonasan. Rav holds like Rabbi Yonasan that the two things are together or apart. Umetaretz lekoi, and he answered the contradiction of the psukim according to Rabbi Yonasan. We holding daf tzadik vav Amud Aleph on the top. Yeah. Thank you. The Tanya. We learn in the Bryce. Now again, Rashi brings out, we don't learn the Vetanya either. We just learn the Tanya, we learn in a Bryce. It's no contradiction between the two Bryce, there's no machloikes. Everybody brings the same point. It says like this. Im be'ol avimoy lo yeshalem. Now he starts from the bottom, from the last pasuk. If the owner was with the shoyel, he doesn't have to pay. Mashma, so we're learning it out. The isa b'tarvayu, if it was b'ol of imoy on both of the times, it's going to be potu. Umashma nami, and he can also learn the chiisa b'chada v'lesa b'chada potu. That if he is one of them and not in the other times, he's still going to be potu. Why? Because the two things are together or apart. So when it says b'ol of imoy that he doesn't have to pay, when doesn't he have to pay? According to Rabbi Yonason, either way. Either if it was b'ol of imoy the whole time, or if it was b'ol of imoy in one of the times, because the two things are together or apart. Uksiv, it says now in the other pasuk, b'ol of ein imoy shalem ishalem. If the owner was not with him, he has to pay. Mashma, we're learning it out. When does he have to pay? The lesser b'tarvayu, when he was not in both of the times. Umashma nami, when he can also learn the chiisa b'chada v'lesa b'chada chai. We can also learn that if he was not in one of the times and he was in the other times, he's also going to be chai, because the two things are together or apart. So therefore, we come in a contradiction according to Rabbi Yonason. Why? Because here we see that in one of the times he's chai, and here we see that in one of the times he's potter. Now, since we cannot continue the contradiction in the pasuk, so obviously, according to Rabbi Yonason, the pasuk came to choose that you have to choose one of the times. So Loi Marloch comes to teach you, if it was b'ol of imo in the time of the she'ela, ain't tzorich li'asimo b'shah shvura meso. He doesn't have to be b'ol of imo in the time of the breaking of the dying. But b'shah shvura meso. But if it was b'ol of imo in the time of the shvura meso, it's not enough. Why? Because tzorich li'asimo b'shah she'ela. Because he needed to be with him in the time of the she'ela. Rashi. Rabbi Rieber Rabbi Yonason, the top of the line, Daf Tzadik Vav Amud Aleph. Rabbi Rieber Rabbi Yonason, the Omar Echod Mashma, that you can learn anywhere you want, together or apart. Umeta it's Doshe Gekroi ki Rabbi Yonason, and he also learns the psukim of b'ol of imoy like Rabbi Yonason. Le Midrash ki ani masnitin de le'el, to learn just like those brises before that we have to choose b'ol of imoy b'shah she'ela. Rashi again points out the Tani v'Tani idach loigar sinon. We don't learn the Tanya starting bringing the psukim, bringing the Tanya. We learn in the Braisa, and in the other psukim we learning v'Tani idach, and the other Braisa says, because then it will sound like the Braisas are arguing. Elokroi kanok, you just start with the psukim. Now Rashi is asking a question. Ve'od emafir bo'orov v'kanok kikroi yibcho lav davke. Why? By Abiy it starts from the pasuk b'ol of ein imoy to the pasuk b'ol of imoy, and by Rov it's just the opposite, starting from the pasuk b'ol of imoy and going to the pasuk b'ol of ein imoy. Zokter, lav davke. It's no big deal. It's no, we don't have to learn something of it. V'nira be'inai, now Rashi wants to clarify. Shetov begirsa lagia besforim, people had the girsa to fix in the brises the sovereign. The masnitin kamaisa, that the first brayse that we brought before is Rabbi Yosef. Vayim etaretz Abiy, and that brayse only Abiy follows. Ubasraise Rabbi Yonason, and the second brayse is according to Rabbi Yonason. Vayit tiretz Rove, and the other one Rove follows. That means that Rove and Abiy and the brayses are all arguing in the machlokes of Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yonason. So we're going to make a three-way machlokes. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yonason, the first brayse, the second brayse, and Abiy and Rove will make up that the brayses are also arguing what Rabbi Yonason and Rabbi Yosef. So Rashi v'loi, no, it's not so. Why? The kol kamed denaktilu lekoi, as long as you're taking and you're pointing at the psukim, ben mekaseda ben kofu. Either you start from b'ol of ein imoy, or you start from the pasuk b'ol of imoy, ben Rabbi Yosef ben Rabbi Yonason. Either you are giving the drosha according to Rabbi Yonason or according to Rabbi Yonason. Chad drosha. It's one the same drosha, meaning you're basically learning that b'ol of imoy is b'shah she'ela. So what's the machlokes? Lemar kedeis, according to one opinion is the way he holds, the way we're learning from the pasuk. Or lemar kedeisli, and according to the opinion, the way he holds. But Abiy masnitim metaretz Abiy Rabbi Yosef and Rove Rabbi Yonason, and Abiy and Rove can both using both brises, and Abiy and Rabbi Yosef and Abiy and Rove can also learn both Rabbi Yonason and Rabbi Yosef. Meaning they're just choosing to learn how to learn that b'ol of imoy b'shah she'ela, but you can learn either way. Change names, change brises, go backwards, go forward. Either way, it's going to work. Back to the Gemara. we're holding, and the line begins with the word בשעת שאלה. Now, from all these shir, we learn one thing. From the contradiction of the psukim was that we have to choose be'ol avimoy for one of the times, and the Brayse chose shas sheila. Frag deile ki gemore, eipuchano, why are you choosing shas sheila? I'm going to tell you that be'ol avimoy needs to be in the time of the breaking of the dying, which in reality it makes more sense. The gemore, no Rashi, eipuchano, lo imer shebishva shviro poitarto, that in the time of the breaking makes him potter by be'ol avimoy, ve'lo b'shas sheila, and not in the time of the sheila. Back to the Gemara. And for the Gemara mistabra, it makes sense to choose shas sheila, sheila adifo. Sheila is better to be ba'al avimoy. Because that's the time it came to his possession. Meaning, that's the time he made the kinyan on it. So at the time that you make it a kinyan, at the time that you're taking responsibility, it makes sense. That's also the time that you're getting the ticket of being off the hook from ba'al avimoy. Frag the Eilike Gemara, Adarabe, Shvura Meisa Adifo. The Gemara is going to ask all your questions. Shvura Meisa is better to be Ba'al Avimoy, Shekem Chayev Ba'inser, because that's the time he's actually Chayev, not becoming Chayev, he's actually Chayev. Rashi, Shekem Chayev Ba'inser, Aloi So Shom is Chayev, he's Chayev on that time. And for the Gemara, Ilo Isheelo, if not of the concept that he took up his responsibility in the time of the Sheela, Shvura Meisa Mayovid, dying or breaking will not do anything. Meaning, if you didn't make a kinyan to be responsible, nothing will happen when the behemoth dies. That means that which one is more effective is the time of the Sheela. Frag the Gemara, V'lav Shvura Meisa Sheela Mayovid. So you go backwards, and if not for the fact that it broke, the kinyan that he took upon himself in the time of Sheila also doesn't do nothing. Which means that the Gemara wants to say that either way you're looking, either in the time of the Sheila or the time of the Shvura Meisa, they both have a powerful time to choose Ba'al Avimoy at that time. And for the Gemara, now the Gemara has the conclusion. Even though so, Sheila Adifo, with all of that, Sheila is better. Why? Because he's not only responsible, he's making a kinyan to be chayiv, and Shvura Meisa is also becoming responsible to feed her. So it's an action, an addition of responsibility. Oh, now it's actually an addition of responsibility, so it makes sense that with that addition of responsibility comes Ba'al Avimoy.
And he's very amazed.
He's nothing happened. She's dead. He's off the hook.
No,
so he's
that.
off. He's off.
While it was Mishra Mesa, it was with Meta.
He was what?
Does he say Ba'al Avimoy is the time of the Shvura Mesa?
You're right. So before we understood that they're both equal, they're both the same. Here you took responsibility. Here you actually becomes responsible. So they're both the same. But now that I'm telling you the time of the Sheila, I have an additional responsibility. That not only you becoming responsible, you're actually responsible. So in the time of Sheila, you have two things. Not only becoming responsible for anything that happened, you are actually responsible to feed her. Oh, that's already two over one in the time of the Shvura Meisa, only one that you actually pay for the damages. Comes the Gemara, says a whole new answer. Rav Ashi Omar Kro. You can learn it straight from the psukim that Ba'al Avimoy is the time of the Sheila. So let's look at the psukim. Okay, you have it?
Yeah.
It says in the pasuk, "V'chi'ish al ish me'im re'eyu." When somebody borrows something from your friend, meaning without your friend, you borrow something from your friend, you borrow his car, you borrow his cow, but you don't borrow his friend too. You don't borrow Avimoy. Then Shalom is Shalom. Then he has to pay. So Rav Ashi says, I don't need the extra limit. When a person borrows something from your friend, then the Torah says he has to pay. Comes out that if you borrow your friend with the item, then he doesn't have to pay. So it comes out that the whole din of Ba'al Avimo can be learned from just the beginning of the pasuk. Fact that, so the Gemara is going to ask, if so, what do I need the words of the pasuk? Ba'al Aveinimoy, Ba'al Aveinimoy, Ba'al Avimoy, Ba'al Aveinimoy. Let's see what the Gemara says. Rav Ashi Omar, it says it in the pasuk. V'chiyisha al ish me'im re'eyu. When a person borrows something from his friend, then he has to pay. V'loi re'eyu imoy, and he didn't borrow the friend with him, then shalem yishalem, then he has to pay. Oh, but re'eyu imoy, but if we borrow the friend with the item, he's patur. Rashi, Rav Ashi Omar, Mikra gufei mashma, from the pasuk itself you can learn the Ashar She'ela copy that the Torah cares that the Ba'al Avimo should be on the time of the She'ela. Why? The me'im re'eyu mashma, that from the words from your friend we're learning out, lo re'eyu atzma initially, that you didn't borrow the friend itself. Ve'alo masikro, and on that the pasuk brings out shalem yishalem, that he has to pay. Alme, we see Ashar She'ela pay the kohen. We see that the Torah cares on the time of the She'ela. So Shmaya says, I didn't read the Rashi, Shekem Chai bin Lucer, says Rashi, al yodo through her. Okay. Back to the Gemara. We're finalizing the Gemara. Frag de'elike Gemara yochi, if so that we're learning from the Psukim the way Rav Ashi says, that v'yichi shalish meim re'yu, and he didn't borrow his friend. Ba'al aveinimoy, v'im ba'al avimoy lomali. What do I need the Psukim? Ba'al avimoy, ba'al aveinimoy. I can learn everything from the v'chishal. Ishmeim re'eyu. I don't think so. The whole pasuk is a lot of words extra. And for the Elokei Gemara, hilav anach. If not for the psukim of Ba'al Aveinimoy and Ba'al Avimoy, Ava Amina, I would have said, Ayoicha dekrohu. I would not have learned nothing out of the Chishal Mishmeim re'eyu. I would learn that that's the way the Torah expresses himself. Like for example, Kini Kiita Nishal re'eyu lishmoy. You didn't learn anything from the psukim. You didn't make a drasha, but you want to learn a big chiddush of Ba'al Avimoy from a chiddush shalish me'im re'eyu. The Torah has to say it in the clear chiddush. It's exeras hakosov. The chiddush has to be said in the pasuk. Now that we know from the pasuk that the concept of Ba'al Avimoy, the only thing that I need to know is which time is shah she'ela or shah shvura meiso. So the limud from Rav Ashi v'chiddush shalish me'im re'eyu v'loi re'eyu imo is good enough to teach me that. Rashi. If not for those two, which one? Ba'al Aveinimoy, Ba'al Aveinimoy. The Adu. Then it goes back. Uporish milsatfei, and the Torah expressed clearly the psukim. Lo yave motzinu lemelav mimrei v'lo yirei aimo atzmoi. We were not able to learn the whole drosha of Rav Ashi that meimrei, meaning and not his friends also. That's the way that pasuk expresses itself. V'lo yishtam b'balim. Either one. If it's Ba'al Avimoy or it's not Ba'al Avimoy, it's also going to be chayv. The goal is safe for the bebalim potu. Now that the end of the pasuk teaches me the concept of Ba'al Avimoy potu, ve'achad minai koyiptu, and that his potu is only on one of the times. Ve'lo al chaverto, and not on the other times. So basically, only thing we have left, we need to know which one to choose. We're learning and revealing from the pasuk that Ashar She'ela copied, that he cares only for the time of the She'ela. Thank you so much for listening to the pasuk.